joined on Skype by entrepreneur Scott Kundal. Now today, the founder of Majestic3.com is going to tell us why we might be relying on tech too much. Scott, what do you mean when you say we're hiding behind tech?
Yeah, well, you've probably noticed over the last decade that technology's become quite important. We've got iPhones, iPads, projectors, and all kinds of technology. And if Google Glass kind of gets going, which maybe it won't, maybe it will, then you can imagine the kind of technology that is now standing in the way between us and the people we're speaking to in business. So when I say hiding behind technology, I often talk about the fact that we must never forget that we're humans and people do business with people. And sometimes we let technology get the better of us, and we shouldn't really do that.
Now, before we dive into this topic, I want to know exactly what you do at Majestic3.com.
Well, we kind of teach people to be human again in their internet communications. So it sounds like a bit of the antithesis, but essentially what we do is we have a technology system which effectively helps people build relationships. So although we're in the cutting edge technology business, we're very much about authentic, great content in the way businesses communicate. So we're trying to get people away from the hard selling and into the good, authentic communication. So we're trying to help businesses become teachers, experts, and trusted advisors with their communities instead of pushing hard sell products down people's throats.
All right, now today we're talking about hiding behind technology and having authentic relationships. What made you start thinking about this topic?
Sure, well, believe it or not, I've actually been in the internet marketing game for 18 years. So, I've really watched in the internet. I was in it long before social media even came along. And I've watched the ways that businesses communicate, and they haven't really figured out yet that, if you want to start building relationships, then you've got to be real, you've got to be human, you've got to talk about interesting things that add value to people's lives. And essentially, hiding behind technology is literally about just trying to do the basics. It's about still communicating as a brand and trying to build the brand as a kind of sales-driven approach. Whereas what we're talking about very much is we should start building it around really great content.
Now, it seems to me like a lot of people and maybe even a lot of brands are really hiding behind that technology because they don't know how to take that extra step and have that, they don't have that extra push to make their relationships kind of synchronized, as you say. How do we do that?
You know what? I don't think it's a push at all. I don't think it's them taking a step further. I think it's them taking a step backwards. And I think that's the problem. Creating great content for your business and communicating in that way should be a natural process. That should be the foundation. So the default setting should not be let's sell, sell, sell. The default setting should be let's teach, let's educate, let's promote. Let's do great events. Let's get people together. Let's get them talking about industry problems. Let's find solutions. That is, for me, what brands should be doing. So rather than being pushed into this, they should be doing it naturally. So what I do with a lot of businesses and clients that we work with is kind of wrench them backwards, back to the basics, and then get them doing that correctly.
Have you found yourself hiding behind tech in your lifespan?
That's a great question. I would be lying if I said no. So you can't help it. I mean, I try to avoid touchscreens for as long as possible. I was one of those old BlackBerry users, and I still was pushing those real buttons. I like the feel of the real buttons for so long. And, we're in cutting edge technology. That's what we do. So I could only get away with it for a while. So it's so easy to find yourself just swiping that little screen and checking something out during a meeting or something like that. So I try to now just kind of put everything aside. So when I have a business meeting now, I literally do what I can to move everything between myself and the customer, or whoever it is I'm speaking to, the prospect, the client. And literally, even if it's at a coffee shop, I move the salt and pepper shakers out the way so that there's nothing in between me and the human being I'm connecting with.
Now, would you say this is just being more mindful of your surroundings? We're in the whole movement of being mindful. Is this just another way to be mindful?
It's way more than that. It's very difficult. We're on autopilot, so just being mindful isn't enough anymore. You have to really consciously focus about who you're talking to and why. And the story I always use in a presentation, and I'll take you through very quickly, was about 9 months ago, I was at a conference, and a very charismatic Irishman was doing a presentation on graphic reports. Now, you need to show graphic reports because they are graphic reports. So what ended up happening was the power went out, and his whole PowerPoint presentation just went dead. So now what did he do? He's standing there behind the podium, was clicking through his PowerPoint presentations. Someone behind the back of the room said, tell us about yourself. So he came out from behind his technology, from behind his presentation, stood right in front of the crowd and started telling his story. And in about 10 to 12 minutes, he had us encapsulated because now we were talking directly to him. We knew about his story. How did he get started in the business? Why was he so passionate? So we were enthralled by him. Previously, his presentation was pretty boring. But then the power went on again in the last 5 minutes. By that time, we were so ready to hear what he had to say that because we had connected with him as a person, as a man, and that's essentially what we try to get across. We need to kind of let technology support us and bring technology in only when it's necessary. And then, of course, there's the response rates that go with that, which are literally 1,000 to 1,500% higher than when you're communicating in a normal sales pushing way.